Before we start, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Maybe you're a parent wondering how to teach your children the right values. Maybe you're young and searching for the secrets to success in life. Maybe you don't have children yet, but think about what you'd need to teach them when you do. Or maybe you're just curious about how successful people raise their kids. This conversation is for you. I have multiple children. X a dark side rel. We call her Y now. Griffin, Vivian, Kai, Saxon, Damien, and others. Time spent with each of them has taught me new things about life. But there are three fundamental lessons I teach them that not just my children, but every child in the world should know. These lessons aren't taught at Harvard Business School. They're not written in self-help books. But without them, there would be no Tesla, no SpaceX, no dream of going to Mars. Because these lessons aren't just for success. They're necessary for living a meaningful life. Today I'll tell you these three lessons. For each one, I'll share why they're so important, real memories with my children, and how you can apply them too. After listening to this conversation, you'll understand what the most valuable gift you can give to your children, or yourself, really is. Lesson 1. Failure isn't bad. Not learning is bad. The first lesson, perhaps the most important. Failure is normal and necessary, but not learning from failure is catastrophic. Last month, my 10-year-old son Saxon came home with a bad grade on his math test. He was crying, feeling stupid. "Dad, I can't do math," he said. That moment felt very familiar, because I experienced the same thing as a child. I was going to school in South Africa, had failed a physics exam. My father told me, "If you don't study, you'll fail." True, but an incomplete approach. I told Saxon, "Son, it's normal for you to be upset right now. But let me tell you a secret. When I founded SpaceX, rockets exploded 3 times. Millions of dollars went up in smoke. Everyone said I was stupid, but I learned something from each explosion. The 4th rocket succeeded because I applied what the first 3 rockets taught me." Then I asked him, "Which questions did you get wrong on the test?" We looked at his mistakes together. There was a problem with dividing fractions. "Okay," I said, "this is your rocket. Now you've learned why it exploded. Tomorrow let's work on dividing fractions together." The next day we studied math together for 2 hours. Not just fractions, but the logic system in mathematics. Math isn't just memorized, I said. Math is understood. Every operation is based on logic. A month later, Saxon got the highest grade in his class on the math test. But more importantly, he was no longer afraid of difficulties. Last week he told me, "Dad, now when I face hard problems, I get excited because I know I'm going to learn something new." The secrets of this lesson. Failure is data, not disaster. I always tell my children, failure just means this method doesn't work. Try another method. The power of the word yet. Instead of "I can't do this," say "I can't do this yet." This little word makes a big difference. Process over outcome. Care about the process, not the result. Ask, "How much did you learn?" Not "How smart are you?" We apply this at SpaceX too. In Falcon Heavy's first test, we launched a car into space. It seemed crazy, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was to test rocket technology and learn. Sending the car was just a fun bonus. In Tesla's early days, Roadster transmissions constantly broke down. Customers complained. This was a failure, but it taught us that electric cars required different engineering approaches. This learning enabled us to create Model S's perfect transmission system later. Lesson 2. Questions are more valuable than answers. The second lesson, asking the right question is more important than knowing the right answer. My children constantly ask questions. XAA-12 asked me last week, "Dad, why do rockets go curved instead of straight?" Great question. Because most terrestrial engineers can't fully explain this. Because, I said, the Earth rotates. If a rocket tried to go straight, Earth would slip away underneath. like throwing a ball on a moving train. But then I asked him, "Why did you ask this question?" "Because," he said, "I was watching rocket videos on YouTube and it seemed weird." That's it. Curiosity, questioning, challenging assumptions. This is the beginning of every great discovery. Question techniques I teach my children. Ask why 5 times. Why are rockets expensive? Because they're single use. Why are they single use? Because bringing them back is hard. Why is it hard? Because no one tries. Why don't they try? Because they think it's impossible. Is it really impossible? These 5 whys form the foundation of SpaceX. Ask what if questions. What if there was no gravity? What if the Earth isn't flat but round? Galileo's question. What if time could change? Einstein's question. What if we could connect brains to computers? Neuralink's beginning. My daughter Vivian asked me last month, "Dad, why do I have to go to school? I can learn everything on the internet." Most parents would say, "Because that's how it is." I said, "Great question. You really can learn from the internet. But school isn't just for information. It's to learn to work with people, to respect different ideas, and most importantly, to solve problems together." Then I added, "But you're right. The traditional education system is outdated. That's why I founded Ad Astra School. There, children learn to solve real problems." Vivian's question pushed me to develop Ad Astra. Children deserve problem-solving focused learning instead of factory model education. Types of questions I teach my children. Assumption-challenging questions. Everyone does this way, but why? Possibility questions. This is said to be impossible, but is it really? Connection questions. How is this connected to that topic? Future questions. What will this be like in 10 years? Last year, my son Griffin asked me, "Dad, why don't people love each other?" A profound question from an 8-year-old. "Because," I said, "they don't love what they fear. Fear prevents love." "Then why are they afraid?" "Because they don't understand. What you don't understand seems scary." "So the solution is understanding?" "Yes, son. That's why education is so important. Education turns fear into love." This conversation deeply affected Griffin. Now he's more open to meeting new friends because he understands that difference isn't something to fear, but something to explore. Lesson 3. Dance with your fears. Don't let them defeat you. The third and perhaps most difficult lesson. Fear is normal, but you shouldn't use fear as an excuse. Teaching this lesson was hardest because I'm also someone who suffers from fear. I have stage fright. I have a flying phobia. I have fear of failure. But what I want to show my children is that you can continue despite your fears. My son Damien started swimming lessons last year. He came crying after the first lesson. "Dad, I can't swim. I'm too scared," he said. "Son," I said, "I'm scared too. Do you know, before the first rocket launch, I was so scared my stomach was upset. But listen to what fear tells me. This is important. Be careful." Then I told him my own fear stories. PayPal story. When I founded my first company, I thought customers would steal our money. I couldn't sleep for nights, but fear pushed me to build a more secure system. SpaceX story. Before the first rocket launch, I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. What if it explodes? What if astronauts die? But fear pushed us to do more tests, build safer systems. Tesla story. When we first introduced Model S, I was afraid, what if no one likes it? But fear pushed us to make the product more perfect. I told Damien, fear is a bridge. The bridge from where you are to where you want to be. But if you don't cross the bridge, you can never move forward. We went to the swimming pool together. "I'll get in the water too," I said. "We'll both be scared together." The first week we both sat at the pool edge, dipping our feet in water. The second week we got in water but held on. The third week Damien swam for the first time without holding on. By the fourth week, he was swimming better than me. "Dad," he said, "fear wasn't a bad thing after all. It just made me more careful." Techniques for dealing with fear. Identify the fear. What exactly are you afraid of? What's the worst case scenario? Usually the real fear is smaller than you imagine. Break down the fear. Break big fear into small pieces. Swimming fear. Fear of getting in water. Fear of putting head underwater. Fear of not being able to breathe. Handle each piece separately. Find a fear buddy. Being scared alone is harder. Experiencing fear with someone gives strength. The first time rule. Every first time is scary. The second time is easier. By the 10th time, it's fun. We make fear lists with my children. We write everyone's fears, then plan how we can overcome these fears. Children understand everyone has fears. What matters isn't running from fear, but dancing with fear. XAA Classens is fear list. Darkness dogs going on stage math exams. We overcame all of them together. Now his favorite things are taking night walks and playing with dogs. The combination of these 3 lessons, real-life application. When you apply these 3 lessons together, magical things happen. I experienced this with my children last year. At Ad Astra school, we organized a Mars simulation project for children. Goal: how do you survive on Mars? Problem: oxygen, water, food, shelter. Everything needs to be produced from scratch. The first week, children were very excited. The second week, when difficulties started, some wanted to give up. This is too hard, they said. Impossible. Lesson 1 kicked in. Failure is normal. Your first solution didn't work. Try another solution. Lesson 2 kicked in. Ask the right questions. What's the biggest problem on Mars? Oxygen, water, temperature. Lesson 3 kicked in. Identify your fears. What scares you about Mars? Are these fears realistic? 3 months later, the children completed the Mars life simulation. Not just theoretically, but with real prototypes. Water filtration system, solar panel, hydroponic garden, pressurized habitat. But the most important thing was the change in children's mentality. They no longer said impossible. They said, how do we solve this? Mistakes modern parents make the time I spend with my children also shows me mistakes other parents make. Mistake 1. Trying to prevent failure. Solving every problem for your child makes them helpless. Children must find their own solutions. Mistake 2. Giving short answers to questions. Because that's how it is the worst answer. It kills curiosity. Instead ask, what do you think? Mistake 3. Ignoring their fears. Saying there's nothing to fear doesn't help. It's normal to be scared. Let's solve it together is better. Mistake 4. Only celebrating successes. Celebrate failures too. How brave you are. You kept trying. Mistake 5. Giving answers, not asking questions. Don't give the child a fish. Teach them to fish. Don't give answers. Teach them to ask the right questions. How to apply these lessons to yourself. These lessons aren't just for children. They apply to adults too. Ask yourself these questions. About failure. What did I learn from my last failure? How can I use this learning? About questioning. What assumption did I question this week? What whys did I investigate? About fear. What fear is blocking me right now? How can I dance with this fear? Answer these questions every week. Over time, your mental muscles will strengthen. Apply these principles in work life too. Failure. When your project fails, do a post-mortem with your team. Not what went wrong, but what did we learn and how do we do better? Questioning. Question assumptions in meetings. We're accepting this data as correct, but why? Fear. Don't be afraid to take risks, but take calculated risks. Listen to what your fear is telling you. The greatest gift I want to give my children. While trying to teach these 3 lessons to my children, I realized that actually the greatest gift I can give them is mental freedom. Mental freedom means not being afraid of failure, valuing questions more than answers, being able to dance with their fears. A child who has this freedom will be successful whatever they do, because success doesn't depend on external conditions. It depends on mental approach. Maybe my children will not become rocket engineers. Maybe they won't make electric cars. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that whatever field they work in, they'll approach it with these three principles. If they become doctors, they'll question diseases from different angles. If they become teachers, they won't kill their students' curiosity. If they become artists, they'll transform their fears into their art. These three lessons are universal. Every child, every adult should know them. Suggestions for your children. My suggestions to parents watching this video. Talk with your child tonight. What did you learn from your last failure? What was the most interesting question that came to your mind this week? What are you afraid of right now, and how can we overcome it together? Do together this week. Do a small experiment and accept failing. Ask 5 why questions about a topic. Face a small fear together. Set goals for this month. Give your child a real problem to solve. Take their questions seriously and research together. Make a list of their fears and start overcoming them one by one. Conclusion: the most valuable legacy: money, property, fame. All of these are temporary, but these three principles you put in your child's mind will strengthen them throughout their lives. I want to leave my children the greatest inheritance: minds that never give up in any situation, always ask the right questions, and transform their fears into their strengths. These three lessons aren't just for success. They're necessary for happiness, peace, meaningful living. Because the most beautiful part of life is being able to keep learning and growing. Share this video with everyone who has children or plans to have children. Subscribe because I'll continue sharing the most valuable lessons about life. And remember, the most valuable gift you can give your child is their mental freedom. Start talking with your children today. Tomorrow might be too late. And finally, if you're listening to these words right now, I have a personal message for you. Maybe while watching this video, you thought about your own failures. Maybe you recognized yourself in the struggles I described. Or maybe you thought, he succeeded because he's Elon Musk. My situation is different. Let me tell you something. These stories aren't just mine. This is the story of everyone who shows courage. Because failure is a universal experience. But learning from failure, growing with it, that's a choice. Last week, a young entrepreneur wrote to me, "Elon, my company failed. I have no money left. Everyone says I'm stupid. How can I continue?" I wrote back, "In 2008, I was in the same place. Here's the difference. You're still standing here, still asking, how can I continue?" The person who asked that question is never truly defeated. Here's the truth. Failure doesn't define you. Your response to failure defines you. Do you get up, or do you stay down? Do you learn, or do you just complain? Do you try smarter next time, or do you give up? The answers to these questions form your character. Among the thousands of people watching this video, some will make braver decisions tomorrow. Some will learn from their failures and try again. Some will face their fears. Will you be one of them? Because the world is waiting for your courage, waiting for your solutions, waiting for your story. And remember, the greatest successes come after the greatest failures, but only for those who keep getting back up. Now it's time to go change the world, with your failures alongside you.